Hi, welcome to today's video. Today I want to talk about the 40K FAQ that just came out, officially published. Uh, Came out last week, I'm pretty sure. Found out about it Friday and took a quick look at it. Spent a few days poring over it, just try to get a good feel for what was there. A few of these things I've been looking forward to, some I was a little nervous about. So I want to cover a few of them. The actual PDF is 16 pages long, and the Word document's like 30-some pages. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to go through what I think are the common or the most important elements of this FAQ as it relates to the game that is from the perspective where I'm playing. So the first group I'd like to cover are actual changes from the draft version. Because as it turned out, much to some people's surprise, some of the what were the rules FAQs that were in the draft version actually were changed. So there's actually three ones I'm going to highlight. The first one is a question about whether a swooping flying monstrous creature or zooming flyer can be targeted with a blast or template weapon with Skyfire. Now, in the draft version, the answer was yes, which made a lot of sense because most large caliber AAA shells are explosive and damage the airplane with shrapnel, not with a direct hit like a 40 millimeter or less would. So it would make sense. I was actually looking forward to that. But nope, they reversed that, and even with Skyfire, no templates, no blast can ever harm a flyer. So, bummer there, but at least from my perspective. I kind of like the realism it would provide. One thing they could have done is allowed it, at least for blasts, not necessarily templates, and then indicate that a blast that's targeting a flyer can scatter. It can't hurt anything but flyers at that point. So, but they didn't do it. I mean, that actually might be a rule I'll probably throw into a campaign scenario somewhere. The next one is are passengers in drinking transports forced to fire snapshots? Now, in the draft, yes, they were. And that actually was a huge nerf to Dark Eldar. And I was thinking back, and really, I can't think of any of the major factions that have a skimmer transport where this would have impacted so heavily. Next up, the Necrons, who do have their barge. And unfortunately, or Ghost Ark, unfortunately, I'm kind of torn on this. First of all, I mean, I completely am glad they did this because I play Dark Eldar as well, and it would be a huge nerf to the army. Because this entire army is designed to be in open-top vehicles shooting. And here you're going to basically minimize their effectiveness. Not a cool thing. So I'm kind of glad they went with this ruling. But I think a better way to have handled this is to, and maybe they will when they come up with a codex-specific FAQs, but they should keep this as the rule and then give certain codexes a special rule. For example, in this case, Dark Eldar should have. I mean, all units should be considered just firing snapshots if the transport jinked. It just makes sense. It's dodging and moving. You have no idea where the pilot's going to take it, so you can't really steadily aim. So they should have made the answer yes. They're firing snapshots, but then only certain codexes like Dark Eldar, who've trained to fight this way, can have a special rule that basically says no, they don't have to fire snapshots. Just my 2 cents. The last one is actually a good thing. I kind of like it. It's the one about if a blast template scatters onto a skimmer, can it still jink? It used to say no, yes it could, and we're kind of looking forward to that. But in reality, they changed it to no. If you're not targeted, you can't jink. Kind of makes sense because if you fire your weapon and it's a blast, and the opponent has to declare jinx before you roll, that means that not only do you have to decide about the targeted unit jinking, but they also have to decide about any units nearby that might get scattered onto, whether they're going to jink or not. That really makes it the blast weapon a lot more effective than it should be as far as neutralizing firing potential. So I kind of like the way they did that rule. So anyway, Now let's get into the actual clarifications and rule changes. Not in say special order, but I figure I would start with what to me is the saddest of the sad changes for me. It's the change, or I should say, clarification of the rule set, where a single grenade is all that can be used by a unit in any phase, which means in close combat, only one crack grenade, only one melta bomb, only one EMP grenade, which really hurts. Two reasons. First one is my EMP grenades for Tau. My Fire Warriors and Pathfinders, this used to be one of the ways I could get some good anti-tank without having to resort to bringing a Hammerhead, which is really the only solid anti-tank weapon I've got, unless I want to commit crisis suits with fusion guns. Not a lot of anti-tank other than that. So now I can only fire. I can throw one, hit half the time, and then assault and get one more. So that's 2 hull points gone maybe in a phase that's not really reliable. So it really hurts. Now, where it really hurts me is in my Ork tank busters. That basically makes them almost useless. And now I'm actually forced to pay 30 points to get 2 tank hammers, because the tank hammers are not one use, and they go by the number of attacks the model has. So it's not a perfect solution, but at least they get more attacks in addition to the power claw, the knob. So, but what's the point of having all the other guys in the squad have multi-bombs or tank buster bombs? This is another situation where I'm hoping that things are going to change in the Ork FAQ, because here, if they stick with this rule, which I don't really agree with, and I'll mention why in a second, they should put codex-specific changes to it. In this case, the Ork tank busters should be allowed to use multiple multi-bombs or tank buster bombs. The reason is, especially in the case of the Orks, these tank busters, the whole fluff is they are so crazed about taking out tanks and vehicles that they're not going to sit around and just let one of their guys go do that. They are all going to want to clamor on that and put the bomb, make the biggest explosion possible, and get that trophy, right? So it makes sense that the tank buster bombs should be, they should use as many as they want. Now, if you think back in just the terms of what is it that these anti-tank grenades should be, how they should be used, you're not going to necessarily send up just one guy in your squad to go up with that weapon. You're going to want to send 2 or more, not necessarily the entire squad, because you don't want to put all your eggs in that one basket. That one guy who could get mowed down by the machine gun or popped by the tank commander who takes him out the pistol. You want to make sure you've got a couple guys going after that to set the mine in place. Sorry, not mines, grenades. Now, in the case of mines, it makes sense. I mean, you have an anti-tank mine, you've got one person. You don't have a whole slew of them. Not everybody's carrying an anti-tank mine. You've got one. So the entire squad will plant one mine on the tank. It's like a melta bomb, right? But in the case of crack grenades, it makes a whole lot of sense to have 2, 3 guys go up there and place it. Hopefully one of them will make it past defensive fire or whatever it is that's going to hold them back and be successful. So that's why I'm hoping that they do make some slight changes there, codex specific wise. Now the next one is, do blast weapons, regardless of size or type, hit all models on all levels of the ruins or whatever. And this is actually one that I'm glad for, with one caveat. Now the designers, they say in here, yes, a blasted template hits everything under the template, all levels, no need to differentiate. Designers put a note in here talking about why. 2 reasons. One is a lot of scenery doesn't lend itself to discrete levels, and so it's kind of hard to use a level limiter. And then secondly, they want to reflect the fact that an explosion is a 360-degree explosion. It's not just a circle, right? So I'm good with that. Now I wish they had, though, differentiate between templates and blasts, because a template, like a flamer template, they say that it's going to be much more devastating in the confines of a ruin. I'm not so sure about that, because ruins are sort of open air. Yes, it can splatter and such, but you don't get cover anyway. But you still don't get to paint the entire building with it. Now your range matters with this template, because now you can just have it horizontal to the ground and cover all levels, 3 or 4 levels of the building. Whereas you used to have to angle it to hit the level you want, and that would of course shorten your distance, which makes sense. So I kind of wish they had differentiated slightly, because I completely agree about the blast should cover all levels. So kind of a good one there. Next one is this one hurts really bad. It's another sad one for me. Do non-psychic powers with an area of effect, like a Tau Ethereal's Invocation of the Elements, extend from the hull of a transport? Unfortunately, they made this one no. Non-psychic powers, basically, they don't. If your model is not on the table, it can't exert those powers. So they rule that if he's in a transport, he's not on the table. It's a bummer. It does make a lot of sense from a fluff perspective, because I'm speaking specifically with the Tau Ethereal here. You've got a single being that uses pheromones to control and influence. Well, if you're locked up in a vehicle, those pheromones aren't going to get very far. So I kind of like that. But it also incorporates this, can't use warlord traits either. Well, what if you've got a warlord trait for, any of them that affect other units? You can't use it. Now, this one's still a little unclear with respect to things like reserve roles. I still think there's a different question, FAQ, that addresses it, but I'm not entirely certain. So I guess I'm okay with what they've done. It just means I'll have to find other ways to hide my Ethereal. Alright, now, is the maximum number of powers a Psyker can use limited to their mastery level? And this is actually a clarification. And the reason this has been up for debate is that when 7th edition came out, it seems that some of the rule books had a rule specifically laying this out, and others didn't. For example, I have a paper version, and in there's a statement right there. A Psyker can only cast as many powers as equal to his mastery level. So mastery level 2, 2 powers. Mastery level 1, 1 power. Regardless of how many he knows. But my electronic copy doesn't have that text in there. So there actually is a difference between rulebook editions, not editions, but printings, or electronic versus paper. That caused a lot of confusion, so they lay it out here, level set across the board. I kind of like it because it makes sense. That way your Brotherhood of Psykers 1 mastery level unit cannot cast 14 powers. Okay. Alright, so the next one is infiltrating with infiltrate rule regarding characters. So if an independent character doesn't have infiltrate, can it join a squad of infiltrators? Now this one's very interesting, because the way they wrote this, it's an independent character without the infiltrate special rule cannot join a unit of infiltrators during deployment, whether they're infiltrating, deep striking, or outflanking. They're free to join units as they wish after deployment. Now, what's interesting is if you have a unit that has the infiltrator special rule, you can deploy them normally. They're not infiltrators then. They're not infiltrating. They're not coming in via deep strike. They're not coming in via outflank. So this one's, I don't think, 100% cleared up. Right now, the way it sits, you cannot join, period. I know many Wargaming is interpreting it that way. Personally, I'm looking at it in the sense that they have omitted the words deploy normally from this list of descriptions about this infiltrating unit. So I would think that you can't join a non-infiltrating character to any infiltrator any unit with infiltrate that is using one of the special rules to come on the board, either during infiltration, outflanking, or deep strike. But you can join him if he's just simply being deployed on the board. So that's the way I'm going to use it in the future in my battle reports, until I start seeing something, the general discussion, gravitate to one definition or the other. All right, the next one is, I love this one. If a flyer is forced to move 18 inches forward due to a mobilized result, ends over an enemy unit, does it crash and burn? Now this one might upset a lot of people because I've seen a lot of tactics where you immobilize and then you move or run another unit out there 18 inches in front of the flyer to force a crash and burn. Well, they've nixed that. Now you just basically treat it like wobbly model syndrome. You mark the position of where the flyer actually is in the middle of that enemy unit, and you just simply put it as close to it as possible. And you measure all the effects, whether it's firing or whether it's being shot at, from the point it's supposed to be at over that enemy unit. Now what's interesting is that it still will crash and burn if it runs into, flies over and stops on impassable terrain, or a building base. It runs into a building. So there are definitely going to be ways that you can still crash. All right, next one. And some of these they're really, really good. I'm glad to see some of these changes. Do gargantuan creatures and super heavy vehicles need to declare all their targets before they fire any of their shooting attacks? The answer now is yes. It's clear now. I don't think it was clear in the rule book originally. And I think this is very good because when you have a multiple group of a long list of weapons, you can keep shooting at a unit until it's gone and then move on to something else. It makes your unit much stronger. Now that you have to actually allocate ahead of time, you have to be a little more deliberate. Again, learning to allocate your most potentially successful shots at the appropriate targets and hit what you think you need to hit. It's a little more tactical thinking needs to go into play there. I kind of like that rule change. Now, do flying monstrous creatures have deep strike special rule? The answer now is yes, and I'm excited about that because it makes a lot of sense. There's no reason a flying monstrous creature shouldn't be able to arrive via a steep dive onto the tabletop. I really, really like that. I wish that a lot of zooming flyers had that ability as well. I know a lot of the Forge World ones do, but I like the regular ones as well. Now, the next one is, some pieces of terrain provide cover saves to models that are not 25% obscured. Does it matter? Does it really include large models like monstrous creatures? This is a big change for the better, because now large monstrous creatures don't get this toe-in cover gets the cover save. They have to be obscured just like a vehicle. Now, personally, yeah, I'm bummed out. I don't get a 4+ cover with my Riptide just simply being toe into a ruin, but it makes a lot of sense. I like this rule change. This is very, very good. Now, the only drawback is my poor Wraith Lords who don't have an invuln save or access to one. They're really going to get hurt now. I will have to try to hide them behind objects. Get that obscuring. Alright, here's a nice one, a change that kind of took me by complete surprise because I run formations, a buddy of mine runs formations. Can I upgrade an HQ choice with that? It's a unique character in a specific formation. So, for example, the one here is the Emperor's Fist Armored Company. That's essentially a tank commander and his unit plus 3 tank squadrons. The answer is no. So you cannot upgrade that tank commander to Pask. So obviously it's going to hurt me in my Imperial Guard, and it's also going to hurt me in formations where I've got multiple hammerheads, and one of them I can't upgrade to be long strike. So that's going to be kind of a bummer. All right. Now there is a potential here, though, that I might still be able to do that, because the specific question was about upgrading an HQ choice. Now, long strike's not an HQ, but I'm going to have to pay close attention to that one, because it could mean that I don't get to include long strike in a formation. All right, the next one is, Can units that are battle brothers embark on each other's transports during deployment? Now it's no. I completely understand why they did this, because it really gets rid of the cheese that's out there, like Howling Banshees and Raiders. That is a vicious, I'll call abuse of that rule. But the problem is it also really prevents a lot of other things from happening. Like, now I can't take my Eldar Fire Dragons or Guardians and put them in a Raider, which for my Exodites, that would make a whole lot of sense, because they're all part of the same Exodite community. They're just two different codexes, so I'm not too happy about that, but I'll have to live with it. It's okay. It's not a huge loss, still sad. What I'll probably do is I'll probably make special rules in special scenarios, but it's no big deal. It'll be for narrative anyway. You can do anything with narratives. Alright, now if your warlord is in reserves, can you still use their traits for rerolling reserves? And the answer is yes. So, in the previous question, about does a model, that HQ model that has a warlord trait inside of vehicle, can it use it? The answer there was no. Here, I still think that that's another situation. You can't use it. Here you actually have to have the model in reserve or on the table itself. And actually this is good. I'm liking this, because back in 6th edition, the warlord had to be on the table to get this bonus, which meant when I had an Autarch, or I had any of my warlords, because I love going with strategic table. I like the reroll to try to get this reserve modifier. I forget which one it is. I think it's number 5. But anyway, I wanted, but it would force me to take a unit, my HQ unit, and put him on the table instead of maybe putting him in reserve with what I wanted him to be part of. So I'm really glad they made this change. Makes it a lot better for my playstyle. And then the final one I wanted to talk about is the Hammer of Wrath. And I think this is more of a clarification, and I'm not certain I completely agree with what they decided to put in here. But the way that what they've chosen to change or clarify is dealing with walkers. Okay, when you have Hammer Wrath and you're going in against a walker, you are going to strike regardless of what angle you're coming from. You're always going to Hammer Wrath against the front armor. If it's immobilized, you're going to hit against the rear armor. That's the new rule. Now, I think that's a little inconsistent, though I can understand that hitting the front armor is okay, because the idea is, since a walker can Overwatch 360 degrees, it makes sense he's going to turn and take the brunt of the Hammer Wrath attack with his front. Okay, I'm good with that. But if he's mobilized, you should be hitting the armor value of the side or front or whatever you're hitting, not automatically the rear. Because when you're attacking a normal vehicle with Hammer Wrath, you're going to do the Hammer Wrath against the vehicle's armor value that you're facing. You're coming at the side, you go against side armor. You come in the rear armor, front armor. Okay, it's just very simple. Should be the same with the walker here, but it's not. So now, any Hammer Wrath is against front armor on a walker, unless it's immobilized, then it's rear armor. So those are the rules I wanted to kind of cover and talk through. Very simple. There's a whole lot more. Like I said, 16 pages in the PDF. A lot of details. Some of them aren't surprising to us. So we've been playing that way for a while. Others are a lot more surprising. The ones here I wanted to kind of highlight. Let me know what you guys think about some of these rules. And just for the record, I will be using the FAQs now in my battle reports going forward, since these are official. All right? So I hope you enjoyed this. Share, like, subscribe, tell your friends about this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.